Chapter 15, Part 1 of The Nightland by William Hope Hodgson. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. The Nightland. Chapter 15. Past the House of Silence. Part 1. Now it was in the 10th hour of that day that we put off in the raft, and surely we found the paddles to go very easy and with somewhat of balance in the rests which I had set up, as you do mind, and the raft to go forward with not overmuch of labour, so that we stood, the mate to the fore-paddle, and I did be to the hinder one, and we pushed very steady upon the paddles, and had the raft presently to a speed something less than we should walk over the rough way of the land. And about the 12th hour we stopped and eat and drunk, and went on again with our easy labouring, and truly when that we gat set to the movement, we scarce to wot that we did aught more than rock something fore and back upon our feet, and so the hours to pass, and we to have a constant gentle speech one with the other, and the maid oft to look back unto me with love, and to set her lips that she tempt me, but yet to shake her head most dear, when that I would leave my paddle that I go forward unto her. And when that the 18th hour of that day was come, we to draw inward our paddles, and the maid set the cloak very nice to be our bed, and afterward we eat and drank, and so presently to our slumber, and did have sleep very sound and happy, all in a moment as it to seem. And 8 good hours after we did waken both of us together, and lo, we scarce to mind where we did be for a little moment, but afterward to know and to perceive that we did be safe and not to have come unto us in our sleep. And surely we laughed each in the face of the other, for we did be so joyous to be wakened each unto the knowledge of the other. And after that we had kissed, we washed somewhat in the water of the sea, and so to our food. And when we had eat and drunk, and made again to the paddling, and went forward thus along the coast very peaceful and content all that day. Now in all that voyaging did take 4 good days of 24 hours each, for we made no great haste or labour, but went easy, that I have time to gather my strength. And naught to happen in all that time, save that once we did see a great beast to come upward lumbersome out of the sea on to the shore, and there did eat and browse upon the herbage in that part, or so it did seem to us, though truly we did be over far off to have surety. And this beast not to put us into any horror, but only to make us glad that we be afar off from it, and by this saying I to mean that it did seem unto us a natural thing, and nowise to have an odour of aught monstrous to trouble our spirits. And this way to be all the creatures of that country, and truly I do think the early world did be somewise like to it, and this to seem to make true that olden saying that extreme things do meet, as doth be over apparent. For thus doth be somewise to our knowings, as you shall perceive by your reasonings upon olden days, and by the showings of this mine own story, for that deep world to have put forth natural creatures that did be even as might be those that did live in the beginning, though I to make no point of this, but only that it doth occur to my thought, and all to seem that it did be bred of circumstance and condition. Yet this to have no saying whether that there to be a spiritual force something deeper than the circumstance, for this to be outside of any surety, but not offensive unto my reason. But this thinking also neither to offend me, that although much, and mayhap all, doth be modified and shapen divers ways by the circumstance and the condition, yet doth there be an inward force that doth be peculiar each unto each, though mayhap to be mixed and made monstrous or diverse by foul or foolish breeding, as you to have knowledge of in the bodies of those dread monsters that did be both man and beast. Yet also I hear to say that may be all diverse breeding not to be monstrous, but this to be beside my point, for I to be now set to tell, as I have told, that it not to offend me to suppose that there to be this inward force peculiar to each shaping of all bodies that do hold that wondrous quality of life. And if that you ask me that I give example to make clear my thought, I to say that it doth be reasonable to suppose that the force or spirit of the human doth be peculiar to the human, whether that it to be a cause of life, or the result of that which hath been evolved out of a condition. And whether to be the one way or the other, you to know that where this force or spirit be found untainted, there is man. And I to be not opposed to think that man doth be constant alway in matters of fundament, and neither to have been ever truly different, though something modified in the body, and surely, in the first, all undeveloped in the lovely things of the spirit, because that there to be no call to these. Yet presently they likewise to come and to act upon the flesh with refinings, and likewise mayhap there to be some act of the flesh upon the spirit. And so to the state of this age of this our day, and to that far age of which I do tell. But development never to make the human other than the human, for the development to have limits peculiar to the human. And surely it doth appeal to me that the development of man doth lie between two points, that be not wondrous wide apart, and man to have power that he arrive very speedy from one unto the other, and likewise that he go back so quick or even the more hasty. Yet even did it be ever proved that man wants to be a fish, I to have no cause to abate the first part of mine argument, but to have the more need of the thought that I gain power to accept the fact, for I still then to have no occasion that I think man to have been truly a fish, or aught truly different from a man, but only that he did be once modified physically to his need, and to be still possessed of the man-spirit, though all lacked of development. Yet truly I to be less offend in my reason, if that it be shown that man did be ever somewise in his present shape, though mayhap so brutish as the humped men, but yet I do be ready to consider all matters, and do build no walls about my reason. Yet neither I to have an over-ready acceptance of aught, but to need that my reason shall approve. And you to perceive surely that I here not to speak of that which may be afterward, when that all this our life be done. For who shall say how much or how little we then to go forward unto loveliness? And I at this point to tell you that I do have a wondrous hope of beauteous things, and of sweet and mighty uplifting and furtherance unto that glad world which we have beheld the shores of, when that we had stood in holiness with the beloved. And in verity I now once more to my story, and to be glad that I am done at this small setting forth of a matter which did need words, because that it did have root in this mine own story, and to be grown of it and from it. Now there did be one other thing of note beside the sea-beast, whilst that we did be upon the seas, and this did be the strangeness of a great fire-hill which did stand in the sea, and we to pass very nigh unto it. And surely the sea did boil about it, yet not in all places, and there did be a score great jets that did go upward a monstrous way, and did roar very plain to us across the sea between. And there did come strange gruntings from the sea about the base of the fire-hill, and these I to conceive to be made by the upbursting of gases in this place and that. And surely it all to make us to know of the great energy that did be wakeful in that deep country, and we yet to stare backward upon that hill of fire and force, for a great while after that we had come past. Now beyond this there to be naught, except that we had a certain care as we did come to that place where the great sea did be broke to smaller seas, but all to be knit with passages of water which led us through upon our way. And surely I did show mine own maid those two places where I did sleep when first I was come into that country, and she to be sweet in interest, and alway to have somewhat that she would learn of this and that. And so when that we did be 4 good days upon the water, as I have told, we to come to the land upon a flat place of the shore, where the country did slope upward unto the mouth of the first gorge, of which you do mind. And this to be in the 10th hour of that day, and we likewise to have begun that voyage in the 10th hour, as you do remember, and surely it to have been a sweet and peaceful water journey, and I to have been happy, if that all that did be yet before us to hold so much of pleasantness and safe goings. But indeed there to be much danger yet to come, as you do know, and we to have our hearts set in courage, and to go forward to conquer. For surely, if that we to conquer, and to come safe into our mighty home, there to be then that we have all our lives together in loveliness, and this to be truly a worthy prize and a glory of the heart, to end and to repay our stress. And surely the maid and I did presently strand the raft so well as we might, and did then to wonder whether any should evermore to behold it through all eternity. And we looked a little each at the other, and the maid then to cut free a small piece of the wood of the raft to be for an after remembrance. And so we to have our gear upon the shore, and the maid then to give me aid that I get once more into mine armour, and so I presently to have the scrip and the pouch again to my back, and the discos in my hand, and in all readiness, and the maid with her bundle, that was now grown small, and her belt about her body, that she have her knife into her hand. And surely the maid then to kneel and to kiss the raft, for memories did gather upon her, and she there to have one more breaking from all that did be the first part of her life, and you to give your understanding, and so to have a quiet sympathy, and to perceive that her heart did be like that it should stir with a strange trouble of sorrowing in that moment. And surely I stooped then, very gentle and loving, and had mine own to her feet. And I led her from the raft, and she to need that she be near me, and so we to go forward, and to make upward unto the dark mouth of the great gorge. And there to be some miles unto our right that grim and utter huge mountain, whereon afar upward in the monstrousness of the night did be perched those 4 fire-hills of which I have told. And below them there to go upward the great hills of ash, that had been cast down throughout eternity. And this thing had the maid looked upon for a great time, and did be never done of her wonder, neither I nor any human that ever should have sight of so great a wonder. And so we to have come presently upward into the high mouth of the gorge, and did go onward then into the gloom a little space, until that we were come to the place where the gorge did bend sharp unto the left into darkness. And lo, we made pause here, and turned again unto the country of seas, that we have a last outward look over all that deep and living land, that did be hid so far downward in the everlasting night of the world. And in verity it did be a solemn thing to know that we, mayhap, to be the last of the olden humans that should ever to look upon that country, and I to wonder in that moment whether that the humped men should ever to develop in some far eternity unto the full sweetness of the spirit of humanity which I did think to be inward of them. And this to be both an odd and a natural thought to have then, as I do see. But at that time I only to think it, and not to wot or to trouble whether that it did be odd or otherwise. And I to think that country did be somewise as the olden time renewed, but truly we to look upon early things with new eyes. And we yet to look awhile, and to be hushed, and to hark in those last moments unto the far mutter of the great fire mountains and the fire hills, and the noise of life which did go over that land. And we even then to be but a few short pacings off from the silence of the great gorge, which should lead us presently toward the eternal strangeness which did be in the Nightland. And the maid did hold mine arm very close as we looked our last into the red light of that deep and hid country of the world, where, in verity, we had come so utter nigh to our death. And presently I turned, and the maid slipped her hand into mine, and the tears did go silent down her face, because of all that did be pressed upon her heart. But yet not to be all of sorrow, for there to be both sorrow and happiness, and also there did be somewhat of vague emotion that she never more to look upon that dear island where she had nursed her man again unto life and well-being, and she to be in mind of all those places where she to know that in after life her memory to wander, and she to have oft told tales mayhap unto her children, of that country that they never to see, but only to be for a wonder to them forever. And we passed then round the mighty corner place of the gorge, and went forward, somewhat stumbling, into the gloom. Now we went 16 hours very steady, and with naught save the great darkness to trouble us. And we by this to have been 20 and 6 hours since last that we had sleep, and surely this did be a foolishness, because that I to need that I come to my full strength ere we reach the night land, and it to be a folly that I should overtire myself, and the maid to have said so much. And indeed then we came to a safe place for our slumber, and whilst that we eat and drunk we made count for my notings of the outward way, and so did decide that we go no more than 16 hours' journey each day through the gorge, and to sleep alway for 8 good hours. And this we to do both then and until that we did become out of the great gorge, which did take us in all so much as 5 days this wise. And surely, when that we were come into the light places of the gorge, we to be more cheered, as you shall suppose, yet oft did we be half smothered with the horrid gases that came upward in this part and that, as you do mind. And my strength did grow constant as we journeyed, yet would the maid never suffer that I carry her, but went alway very light and clever, and was grown, in truth, set unto this constant wander. And at this place and that I to make pause that I show mine own those places where I did slumber, and she alway to need that she come unto the very part, and that she stand for a little moment where I did lie so lonesome, as I went outward unto that despairful searching. And alway she then to be utter tender with me, and to be something lacking of speech, because of the calling of her heart. And surely mine own did be alway now to ask me when that we should be come unto the night land, and to require how far it should be, and to be taken with a growing of excitement, very dear and natural, and in verity I to be almost so much so as she, and to wonder what she to think of the mighty redoubt, and of all that strange and monstrous land. And above all these I to be shaken unto my very heart, that I have the maid speedy unto safety, lest after all, even though we to have come so far, there somewhat to happen of woe. And all this did make it a hard thing that we not to begin to race, and to exceed the hours that we did set, but truly we had wisdom in this matter, and slumbered alway after the 16th hour. And we never do see aught of life in all that great and desolate gorge, for there did be only the gas-burnings, and the boulders, and the stark rocks, and oft the rank smellings of the gases. And alway an utter and everlasting quiet, save when some lonesome gas-fire did oddly to moan or to whistle, and the whistling to sound very dree across the great waste of the gorge, and likewise the moaning to be but a thing to make the loneliness to be felt in the heart, and the maid to feel thus with me. And alway, as I did know, she to think in her heart that I did come through that place alone to make a searching for her into the unknown lands of the world, and surely I did be but a natural man if that I was something happy in my heart that mine own so to ponder and to remember, for thereby did her love seem ever to grow. And likewise a man doth be glad in his spirit and natural pride, that is made to know that he hath done wholesomely of his best for her need. And you but to think upon the love days, and to hear the echoes of those dear proud thoughts that did so to swell in you, and doth not all to go so strangely with familiar pain in the old way. Now it was upon the 5th day, in about the 7th hour, that I heard oddwhiles a sound in this place and that of the gorge, as that the rocks made hushed and strange sounds at us. And I to have the maid instant very nigh to me, and the discos to my hand, and we then to go onward with a great caution. And thrice we did pass places where gas-fires did burn and dance, and made oft a low moaning, and somewhiles a little whistling, and the other sounds yet to come oddly from the rocks, in this place and that, very strange and unthought of, yet to be something familiar. And sudden it did come to me that there to be a far-away noise in these sounds, though they to seem to come from this place and that, almost to mine elbow, as you should say. And lo, I knew then that I harked unto little echoings, that did be caught by the near rocks, and to come from some far and mighty sound. and this should be surely the monstrous piping of the great gas fountain that you do well mind. And in verity I told mine own in a moment, and she to be all eager with me, because that this to be both a wondrous thing, and to be also a landmark to show that we did be nigh to come out of the gorge, and our journey to come the more near unto an ending. And surely we looked ahead very earnest, there to be so many strange and leaping fires to our front, that we not to be very sure which did be the far and monstrous dance of the great gas fountain. For truly it to be yet so distant, that the near gas fires did make more upon the eye up all of a weary length of the gorge, than did the great dance of the far off fire that was now so small by the distance. And presently, when that we were gone onward something more, we do see that there went a lightening and a darkening afar along the gorge, so that the background of the night was made to lose somewhat of the intensity of its darkness, as with a constant shudders of light, and this to be surely the far-away dance of the flame of the great gas fountain. And we then to watch alway as we journeyed, and to see how that the vague shudderings of light did grow in the distance of the night, and did merge and become known presently in a strange uplifting and falling of a far-away blue flame. And the sound now to come more steady, and to grow in a long while into a monstrous piping, very great and wonderful, and having a constant change in the note. And we to come past the last of the lesser fires, and to be in that part of the gorge which did be fireless, save for the great upward dance of the gas fountain, which did now to be grown huge and plain seen, and did make a quaking light over all the gorge. And so in the end we to come very nigh to the dance of the monstrous flame, and did be half stunned by the noise, which did be now an utter and furious roaring, as you shall remember. And the maid and I did stand as but two lonesome strangers in the mouth part of that deep and desolate gorge, and did stare voiceless unto the great flaw. And mine arm did be about the maid, and she to stand very nigh to me, and neither to speak, and surely how should we anywise, for the noise did be so huge. And after that we had stared a great while, we turned that we look each at the other, and we kissed very sober, there in the light from the monster flame. And afterward we did stare again at the flame, and soon turned and looked always, and did marvel to see the great throw of the light go blue and spreading and strange unto great distances. And a while we did be watching the way that the far off side of the gorge did come plain to sight, when that the flame did leap. And truly that did seem a far and lonesome place, as that a lost and forgot world of desolate mountains did be there. And lo, we now to look that we should see somewhat of the way that our journey to go, and surely naught to be clear shown, save when the flame did rise oddwhiles to a monstrous height, and this to be because of the huge rocks that did stand about the flame. Yet something I was able to show the maid of the bottom part of the mighty and utter monster slope that did be the last way of our journey ere we were come to the Nightland. And we then to go onward for about a good mile, that we be not so deafened by the noise of the gas fountain. And it did be now beyond the 17th hour, so that we eat and drunk, and made our rest in a secure place among the great boulders. And lo, when that we waked, we eat and drunk again, and did be something silent, as we to gaze at the flame dancing monstrous, and lonesome, and all set about with the stark and mighty rocks, which did be like unto giants of silence that did watch for ever. And presently we had our gear upon us, and we went forward toward the utter dark of the mighty slope, and we began that huge climb that should last through days in an eternity of night. And oft in the first hours did we turn about from our blind stumblings, and gaze downward out of the long height unto the loom of the flame, that did shudder far below in the night, and made a quaking light in that far darkness. And so did we leave it to dance forever through eternity in that deep and lost place of the world, and we bent all our will and our strength unto the climb. And this way went we stumbling for 16 great hours, and by that time had come to a pace proper for that task, and to be something numbed and seeming grown unreal because of the affecting of the darkness. And lo, for 8 days then did we go upward forever through that most dreadful night. And after the first day we crept alway upon our hands and our knees, and I to go in the front and had the discos ready upon my hip. And I took 2 of the straps from the pouch and the scrip, and so had a certain length, and I set them from the waist belt of the maid unto mine own belt, and so did know ever that she came close after me. And we made journeys 16 hours long, and did eat and drink at the 6th and the 12th hours, and likewise we eat and drank ere we slept, and again upon our wakings. And our slumber time to go alway somewheres about 8 good hours, for thus did I be heedful that we have all our strength for that dreadness of the journey, which did be yet before us across the fear and horrid terror of the Nightland. And oft at this time and that I was utter sickened and awearied of reaching forward and upward for ever, and making blind fumblings that I find a way about great boulders and the rocks and holes that did be in our path in the dark, for it to seem that we went lost from all life and knowing, in a blackness that should be never slackened from about us. And I these times to make a pause, and to call softly unto mine own that she creep up nigh unto me, and I then to take her into mine arms out of the utter blackness of that night, and so to give and to have comfort. And surely mine own did whisper once unto me that she did be stunned with love and wonder in the heart, for she to never cease to know that I did adventure through this great night that I find her, and this thing did make me very warm in my heart, as you shall think, but yet I to stop her speech with a gentle kiss, and she then to know that she be dumb concerning her thought in this matter, yet she never to cease from remembering it, and did be the more stirred with the trouble of her lovely secret worship. For in verity she to have me to be for her hero, and this to make me in the same moment both something shamed and greatly proud. And so we to be together, and after such pause to go forward again with a new courage. And surely it did be a great comfort to me to think that, because we to go upward and not downward, we be not like to fall over any hid cliff in the night, for I to have now some little knowing of the slope from mine outward journey. Yet to remember upon that monstrous pit that I then to escape, and so to go with care. And indeed upon the 2nd day I had mine own to creep more nigh with me, and I then to have but one strap between us, and the other I set a stone into, and did cast the stone alway before us, as upon the outward way. And you to mind you of this, if you but to think a little minute. And oft in those weary days in the darkness did I make gentle whisperings through the blackness unto mine own, that I give cheer unto her, and she alway to answer, very sweet and loving, yet ever hushed, as I did be. And in verity it did be as that we could not set our voices loud upon that mighty slope, lest some enchantment come upon us, as it might be said. And indeed each time that I cast the stone, the noise of the stone to make a little trouble and dismalness in mine ears, for all did be so quiet and desolate and lost in night, that it to make us to need to be likewise so quiet, and to desire that we might go upward so silent as shadows. Now surely I must tell here how that the maid to have alway at waking that same awareness that I did have upon the outward way, that somewhat did be nigh to us, and to seem to have been concerned with our waking, and I likewise to have also the same knowledge as before. And oft as we did go, I to feel that somewhat did go near to us, and this to put something of a fear upon me, because that I was ever anxious for mine own, and I to have her to be alway the more nigh to me, and did set the trap from her to me even when that she slept, so that she not to be touched, and I to lack to know. Yet she to have no fear concerning this thing, but to feel in her spirit that it did be a force that had no evil intent unto us, but more neither she nor I to know, and I in truth to come in the end used to it, save that I did be, as I have told, anxious in all that did concern the life and well-being of my beloved. And so did we go onward through those 8 days. And it soon to be grown cold, so that we both to need the cloak over us in our slumbers, but in the journey hours to need naught, for the upward going did surely heat us very well. And there also to become presently a change and a seeming of thinness into the air, and the maid to remark upon this, and likewise that the water powder now to be that it not to fizz so plentiful. And we went upward as it did seem for ever, and journeyed very hushed and steadfast, and likewise did halt at set times that we eat and drink, and did always sit then very close and quiet and in love. And so alway to go never beyond 16 hours' journey each day, and very weariful even so much, for it to be a sore and constant labour of climbing. And I to learn the hour alway, by a little shining of the discos upon my time-dial, which I have told did be somewise as the watch of this our present age. Yet truly I also to learn that I made somewhat of a constant number of forward throws of the stone in an hour, and the maid to be the first to discover this, as she did creep behind me and hark steadfast and quiet unto the clatter of the stone each time that I cast it. And she sometimes to call low to me that it now to be this time or that time, and I to look at my dial, as I have told, and oft to find that she did be curiously right. Yet otherwhiles we to have no thought to count, but made a constant hushed talk one to the other, and did grow odd times, that it did seem to us that we did be two spirits there in an everlasting darkness, that had quiet speech one to the other, and to be seeming gone from our bodies. And we then to need that we look each at the other, that we know truly that we yet to live and to be indeed with the beloved. And I then alway to make the disco spin a little, yet something more than when I should see the hour. And in verity our faces then to show pale and strange seeming in that luminous glowing of the great weapon in the darkness, and we to look very eager and an hungered of love each at the other. And so to need that we be held loving by the beloved, and so to have comfort and assuredness, and afterward to have peace to go onward again. And it did be one such time as these that my known to give me a love name she had called me in those olden days of this age, and which surely I had not heard since Murdath died. And in verity you to have dear understanding with me, how that I then to be all troubled with vague troubles and ghostly love aches in the heart. And likewise I did be all set about in a moment by the olden enchantment and speechless glamour that did be so long hid and lost in the spaces of memory, where surely the spirit doth wander such odd whiles, hushed unto a dumb tearlessness, and to know in the same moment both agony and the voiceless glory and lost delight of the hath-been, so that it doth be as that you wandered in the spirit between the sorrowful pain of the sunset and the promise of the dawn, which doth be builded upon the need and hope of the soul, and doth also to have an essence of pain within it, because that these do be knit with longing which doth be the essential pang of memory. And so mayhap you to have gone with me, for you to have also strange thoughts that do come out of the years, and do hurt the heart even whilst that the heart doth hunger of that which doth so pain. Yet truly my known did be now with me, as you do know, so that I had joy all about my heart. Yet did all the years of my lost delights and of my pain be in the spaces of my memory, and mine own now to have stirred all, so that no words that did be ever shaped of man should help me to have ease in speech. End of chapter 15, part 1. Chapter 15, Part 2 of The Nightland by William Hope Hodgson. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. The Nightland. 15. Past the House of Silence, Part 2. And mine own maid to know how it be with me, and she to have said nothing, scarce wotting even as her spirit did set it through her lips, and she before then to have forgotten so utter as I, and now she to be stirred likewise with me, so that in verity we to hold hands in the great darkness upon the slope, and to wait till the pain and strange trouble did go somewhat from our hearts, and we to have power again to know truly that we did be again together in sweet verity after a mighty eternity. And thus did we go, and even in that strange night to have an everlasting coming together, so that surely our two spirits to be nigh made one somewise, and this to be that sweet and holy thing which I do name love, and it to be my glory and astonishment that love hath come unto me. And with you that have love, I am as a brother in holy delight, but with all that have not known love, or to have missed love, I am a mourner, and my heart to pray that they to know this wonder ere they die, for else shall they die so green and bitter as they be born, and to have grown nowise unto ripeness, which doth be charity, the end of life and the crown of humanity. And surely I to go forward again now with my telling. And you to know that on the 8th day upon the slope, about the end of the 9th hour, there to be an upward seeming of light, afar before us in the darkness, and did show as a dull and vague sheen above us in the night. And truly I to know that we did become at last anear unto the Nightland. And we went upward then very eager through the dark, and the dim shine did grow ever, so that we soon do see it very plain, as a looming of light afar upward. And we ever to climb and to go onward, and lo, in the 14th hour of that day we came up slowly out of the night upon the slope, and stood at the ending of that strange road where the Silent Ones walk. And surely it did be as that I was come home, and to have set my feet again upon familiar lands, and this to bring to you how far off I did seem to have gone, and now to be come again to a known place. And we went upward upon the road, until that we did truly have topped the slope, and at last to look out over all the wonder and mystery of that land. And I never to be rid of the utter gladness of knowing that I was come there again after so strange a journey, and that mine own had I brought with me out of all the unknown world. Yet truly I also never to have forgetting that this familiar land of strangeness did be the last test and the greatest dreadfulness of our journey, and anxiousness did hang upon me. For I now to have to take the preciousness of mine own among and beyond all that danger of horrid forces and of monstrous things and beast-men and the like. And truly I did be like to trouble. And in verity I did stare with a fierce eagerness unto the far-off place in the middle part of the Nightland where did be the mighty pyramid, and surely it there to shine in the midst of the land, and did be mine home, where never had I dared hope I should return. And I set mine arm very swift and eager about the maid, and pointed, so that she see quickly the wonder and safe mightiness of that which did be our refuge for all our life to come, if but that we to win unto it. And the maid to look with a great and earnest soberness and a lovely gladness and utter soul and heart interest unto that place that bare me and where I to have come from and now to take her. And long she looked, and sudden came round unto me, and set her arms quick about my neck, and burst unto a strange and happy weeping. And I to hold her gentle to me, and let her cry very natural, until that she was something unpent. And lo, when that she was eased, she to stand close beside me, and to look again unto the mighty pyramid, and afterward, as she to steady, she to ask 100 questions, so utter eager and so to thrill with joy and excitement, as that she did be a glad child. And 100 questions I answered, and showed her new things and wonders uncounted. And of all strangeness that she then to see, there did none so to shake her in the spirit with terror as did that dreadful and horrid house, which did be the House of Silence. and it was as that her very being did know and be repulsed of some horror that did concern and be in that house, so that she too went to hide in the bushes that did be anigh to the road. And truly I to think this wise, and to remember and to beware suddenly that we did be indeed come now into the power of monstrosity, which did be utter and for ever abroad in that land. And surely we went then in among the bushes that did grow clumped upon the side of the road, as you to remember, and afterward I calmed this new fear that had come so quick upon mine own, and she then to peer forth with me from the bushes and to have renewed sight over the land. And the house of silence to stand upon that low hill of which you do know, and did not be a very great way off, somewise toward the right. Yet, as you shall have remembering, it did take me some long and bitter hours upon mine outward way ere I did be come from under the shadow of it, as we do say, unto the top part of the mighty slope. And this to have been in the main because of the utter care that I did need to bring me safe past the house, for I to have gone long and weary upon my hands and knees among the bushes, as you remember, and oft to pause and to be so still as death, lest that the power of the house to have become aware of my passing. And truly we to need again so utter a care, when that we make to go past unto our mighty home, and this to be heavy upon my heart, and I to be in that same moment anxious that we have haste to the trial, and yet very willing, if it might be, that we not make it for ever. And indeed, after that we had peered a good while from the bushes, I to consider that we do well to eat now, and afterward to have a safe place for our slumber, so that we go fresh to the horrid dangers and dreadfulness that did be before us upon our way. And we then to look about, and soon to find a great boulder that did be set with bushes. And we made our place for sleep against the boulder, and the bushes went all around, so that we did be complete hid. And in verity we to be very cold, as we had been those 2 past days, whiles that we made toward the top of the mighty slope. And now we to have the full chill of the night land, and did be very glad to have the cloak, so that we eat and drank whilst that we sat together, and the cloak round us. And afterward the maid set the cloak about us for our sleep, and we then to kiss very sober, and I with anxiousness in the heart, but she with less, because she to have rest in me. And so we lay down to our sleep, and the discourse ready in my hand, and my spirit wakeful against any terror that should come anigh to us in our slumber, and the maid I warned to be likewise wary. And surely we slept and waked, and there had gone 8 good hours, and naught was come anigh to us to harm us. And we eat and drank, and did hark oft, and looked out from among the bushes, but there did be naught abroad to set dread upon our spirits, and so we did be more content and well rest and are ready for the further journeying. Now I had the maid to wear the cloak, because of the chill of the land, but she in the first to refuse, save I also to have it in my turn. But truly I did feel that it should smother me, and that I need all my freedom of my body, lest there come any thing sudden upon us. And all this I showed mine own, and also that we should have weary work, and to creep much, so that I should be warm by my labour of going, and she likewise mayhap. And she then to consent, because she saw that I did be earnest and to burn with anxiousness, yet had me to promise that I take the cloak if that the chill of the land gat me anywise bitter. Now we made a pause, when that we have our gear upon us, and we looked well out over the land, and surely alway our eyes did gaze in the ending upon that far wonder of light and safeness, which did be the mighty pyramid. And I to be never ceased from telling mine own this thing and that thing concerning the great refuge, and she to be constant stunned unto silence and delight of wonder, and anon shaken unto a multitude of questionings, so that truly we did be as that we never to have done making known one unto the other. Now as you have knowledge, the house of silence stood upon a low hill, and the road did bend about the bottom of the hill, and this way did I come, when that I was on mine outward way. Yet now there to be a new plan of journeying come into my mind. For, as you do remember, I did take somewise of 11 great days from the pyramid unto the top part of the mighty slope, because that I had gone diversely and round about to the northwest of the plain of blue fire. And surely, as now I looked, it did seem that we should try a short passage, and thereby become free out of all danger in but a space of 4 or 5 days, if only we to succeed. And I stood a good while very hushed and anxious, and did consider this new way, and did presently point it out to the maid, how that we saw the mighty redoubt straight to the back of the low hill where stood the House of Silence, and mayhap we might chance to find a safe going that way, and that I did ponder that wise. For indeed, as you do know, we must go nigh past the house, even did we return by the long journeying, and this too be because that the bushes did make a cover only near to the road, and all to be a country of bare rock beyond the bushes on that side of the road which did be to the north and west. Now presently I had formed my intention regarding our way, and told all to mine own, and how that we do have alway an utter caution. And the danger I made so plain to her as I did know it, and she then to beware in her heart the need there to be of care and wiseness for ever as we did go. And we then to make forward into the Nightland, and to be gone from the top part of that great deep in which there to be hid strange lands, as you do know. And surely it to be like that none should ever to go that way again for an eternity, or maybe for ever. And so went we forward with a new caution. And we came out from among the bushes upon the northwest of the road, and crossed unto the eastward side. And here the bushes to grow very plentiful, so that I led on with a cheerfulness of hope within my heart. And alway I went so far to the southeast as the bushes would give us their cover, and this way I made that we should scarce to pass within a great mile of the dread and horrid house, though in verity this to be most dreadful close. And we walked then for 6 hours, and went sometimes creeping, and oft stooped, and ever with a great caution. And in the 6th hour we made a rest, and eat and drank, and afterward went forward again. And in the 10th hour were we come something nigh unto the house, for truly we to be off from the road where the silent ones walk, and so to go more straightly, and alway to save distance. And we kept so far outward from the house as we might, but could pass it not more than a great mile off, because that the bushes did have their margin near upon our left as we went, and there to be bareness of rock beyond, and fire-holes in this part and that amid the starkness of the rocky spaces, that should be like to show us very plain if that we came outward from the bushes. And moreover there went upward into the everlasting night one of those towers of silence, which did be in this part and that part of the land, and were thought to hold strange watchers. And the tower stood great and monstrous afar off in the midst of the naked rocks, showing very grey and dim, save when the flare of some great fire did beat upward in the land, and set huge and monstrous lights upon it. And we do have need alway now to remember this tower, and to keep the more so to the sheltered hiding of the bushes. Yet in verity we do have little thought of aught, save of the grim and threatening terror and monstrousness which did stand for ever upon that low hill, and did be the House of Silence. And in the 11th hour we did go creeping from bush unto bush, and did be as shadows that went in the mixed greyness and odd shinings of that land. And the grim and dreadful house did be now into our right, and did loom huge and utter silent above us in the night. And the lights of the house did shine steadfast and deathless with a noiseless shining, as that they shone out of the quiet of some drear and unnatural eternity. And there did a seeming of unholiness to brood in the air, and a sense of all and deathly knowledge, so that surely our hiding did seem but a futile thing unto our spirits, for it was to us as that we did be watched quiet and alway by a power, as we slipped gentle from bush unto bush. And when the 12th hour did be nigh, we to begin to draw clear of the house, and surely there to come somewhat of ease into my brain and heart, for it did be as that we should come clear of all harm. And I turned to the maid, that I whispered gentle and loving encouragement unto her. And lo, in that moment mine own gave out a sudden low sobbing, and was gone still upon the earth. And truly my heart did seem to die in me, for I knew that there did be directed a force out of the house of silence, which did be aimed unto the spirit of mine own maid. And I caught the maid instant into mine arms, and I set my body between her body and the dreadness of the house, and surely my spirit to perceive that there beat out at her a dreadful force, which did have in it an utter silence and a bleakness of desolation. And lo, I saw in a moment that the force had no power to slay me, but did surely make to slay the maid. And I set my spirit and my will about her for a shield if this might be, and I had her to mine arms as that she did be mine own babe. And I stood upright, for there did be no more use to hide, and I knew that I must walk forever until that I have mine own maid to the shelter of the mighty refuge, or to walk until I die, for only with speed might I save her from the dread and horrid malice of that force. And I set free the discos from my hip, and had it in mine arms beside the maid, and I strode forward out of the bushes, and put forth my strength that I journey with an utter speed. And ever my spirit did know of that monstrous force which did be direct upon us, to the destruction of mine own maid. And odd whiles, as I walked, I called mine own by her olden love name, and by the new name of Nanni, but never did she move or seem even that she lived, and surely my heart sickened within me with a mighty despair, so that a constant madness did begin to thrill in me and to make me something monstrous in strength, with my fierce agony and intentness to save. And one hope only had I, that I bring her yet living into the shelter of the mighty refuge, and so swift to the care of the doctors. And lo, I did strive to be wise in my despair, for I made a quick halting soon, and warmed a broth of the tablets and water upon a hot rock, and strove that I set some of the broth between the closed lips of mine own maid. Yet did it be useless, as I to have known before in my heart, and alway I kept my body and my will and my spirit and my love between the maid and the dreadfulness of that house. And I made some of the water and dashed it upon the face of mine own, and I chafed her hands, but truly it to have no use, neither did I truly to think it should be like to. And I wiped her face then, and harked to her dear heart, and surely it did beat, very slow and hushed, and afterward I wrapped her in the cloak. And I forced myself then that I eat some of the tablets, and I drink a great lot of the water, for a fever did seem to burn in me, and moreover I to mean that I lacked not for strength to my task. And I set my gear upon me very speedy, and I lifted mine own beloved, that did be now so hushed, that once had been so merry and dearly naughty. And surely I nigh choked as the thought upraised me, but I set it back, and did but go the more furious. And surely no man did ever go so fast and constant upon his feet through an eternity, for I was come again to my strength, and there did be a madness of intention and despair upon me, and I went on forever. And at each 6th hour, when I stopped very brief to eat and to drink, I made to bring mine own to her senses, yet she never to come, and alway her heart to grow the more feeble, so that in the end I did utter fear to hark, and did but set food and drink unto me, and onward again with an utter fierceness. And why there came not any sweet power of goodness to help me in my strait, I never to know, but did call desperate upon all good things to aid me, as I went to save mine own. But there naught to come, so that I groaned into cursings, but that I did not to lose my wisdom to any useless foolishness. And alway as I went, I to see the land blindly, and oft vague and grey, as that I did look at naught real, and again with strange flashings of light and the glare of fires, and anon to see the land as it did be, and all odd whiles to have now to me the feel of a dread and monstrous dreaming. And surely I sped forever through the dreadful hours, and went neither to the right nor to the left, neither did I strive to hide in the bushes nor to evade aught, for I knew that the maid died slowly in mine arms, and there to be no more gain in life save by speed, that I have her swift to the mighty pyramid to the care of the doctors. And a great and despairing madness grew ever within me. And thrice I do have a vague memory that there came creatures at me from the dark of the land, but surely I slew them with the discos, and have no remembering thereof, only that mine anger did boil in me, and I to know once that the discos did run blood in my hand. And lo, there to come sudden unto my spirit the knowledge that the ether of the world did be stirred, and indeed I did be surely sighted by the great millions of the mighty pyramid, and they to have seen me come forward into the sight of the spy-glasses, and that I did bring a maid in mine arms out of all the night of the world. And truly, as I did after learn, the dear Master Monstruaken had discovered me great hours before, for there had been a steadfast watch kept in the tower of observation for my returning, if that ever I should return. And the might of the great spy-glass had shown me plain a good while gone, and that I did carry somewhat that was surely the maid that I did go to find. Yet had the Master given an order that no word be said abroad to the peoples of this discovering, lest that the emotions of the millions to tell overmuch unto the evil powers of the land. But now had the millions also come unto knowledge, for many had ceased not to watch through their spy-glasses, and the news to travel very speedy through the cities, and surely now there did be a constant spiritual noise in the night, to be heard only of the spirit, yet to suffice to wake and to warn all that land. And truly, as I after to learn, the Master Monstruaken did know by the instruments that there came a force out of the House of Silence, and this to trouble him greatly, so that he set the word through the pyramid by the hour slips that all the peoples strive to contain their emotion, lest they bring an harm and a destruction upon me, by warning the land with the greatness of their feelings. Yet in verity this did be useless, for the peoples did be very human, and could nowise check their gladness and great wonder and excitement, for it was to them so great a wonder almost as we should suffer if that a man in this age should go beyond death in search of his beloved, and afterward to come backward unto the living, and surely in such a case how mighty should be our amazement, and this to be somewise how they did be, yet with it also a sweet and natural gladness and strong welcoming, which doth be the true beat of the human heart unto the wanderer. And presently, and through all the time that I came forward across the land, there did be mayhaps 100,000,000 that did never cease to watch me from the embrasures, from the view-tables, and from all the vantages. Yet for a long while only they which possessed strong spying-glasses did be able to see me truly, for I was a great way off. And millions did but stare vainly unto that part where I was said to be, and the hour slips to come out 4 times in the hour, and to tell aught that did be known. And so shall you perceive that humanity did have but grown the more human. And in verity I went forward with all my strength, and did drive heedless through the miles and the night, and scarce conscious of aught, because of the aching madness of despair that did grow ever within me. For I knew that mine own maid died alway in mine arms, as I did carry her. And later, a monstrous space of hours it to seem, I knew that I was come to that part of the road where it did bend somewhat unto the vale of red fire, and this did be something anigh to that wilderness where the youths did fight with the giant men. And I came over to the road and urged my body utter furious across the land, and surely in that moment when I crossed the road great numbers of the millions did see me that had not seen before. and there went a shaking in the ether of the world, because of the sudden emotion of so mighty a multitude. And lo, it did be as that in that moment the land was at last waked, for there came from far away unto the eastward a faint and dreadful laughter, as that a monstrous being laughed unto itself in some lost and dreadful country. And the laughter passed over the land, and did echo strangely, as it did seem, in this part and that, and presently to go rolling round in the far and hid west lands, and to be as that it wandered awhile amid the far mountains of the outer lands, and was presently lost from my hearing. And my heart chilled a little maybe, but yet did I not care overmuch, for I to lack all if that I lacked death, if that I not to be given power to save mine own. Yet did I make a little pause, so that I gat the knife from the belt of the maid, and did also to bear the capsule, for if that there came a destruction upon us, I to make instant sure that mine own maid be safe unto death, and I then to go quickly with the capsule. And afterward I again upon my way. And ever upon each 6th hour I did stop that I eat and drink, and did onward again, even as a machine. For I commanded myself to this duty of victual, that I lacked not my strength unto the saving of the maid. Yet truly I did seem to choke alway as I strove with the tablets. And lo, ever as I went forward did the land awake, and my spirit to know that great forces did be abroad restless, and the monsters to begin wild roamings, because that they also to know of the unrest that did be come into the land, and there to go presently odd roarings across the land from night unto night. And I to go forward the more desperate, and to step neither to the right nor to the left, but to make direct unto my mighty home. And the veil of red fire did be soon afar off unto my right, and the bulk of the watcher of the northeast to be somewise unto my left before me, and the great back to be toward me. And truly I looked at the brute force, as it did be as that I drew nigh unto a mountain of watchfulness. And above it in the everlasting night did be the blue shining of the luminous ring, and the ring shed a light downward over the monster force, and the shoulders did be huge and humped, even as two small hills, and it looked forever from me through eternity unto the pyramid, and this to be plain though I did be a great way off from it. And sudden, as I went, there came somewhat out of a bush unto my left, and rose up at me, very long and tall, and surely it did be some kind of a man, and came at me, and my fury and my despair came inward upon me in a moment, so that I troubled not to set down the maid, but leapt at the thing, where it did be yet half hid in the dark. And lo, it died in pieces, and the discos did roar to content my heart an instant. And I then onward again the more savage, so that my heart did be a dreadful thing within me. And a great while I went then, and to have a vague remembering that this time and that there came things at me from out of the dark, but surely they to have died very speedy, that I not to remember more. And the hours did pass in spaces of time that did be made of terror and numbness, and an utter and ever-growing fury of despair. And I did be at last as that I did burn inward with a grim and dreadful energy, and seemed to grow the less tired, and to come over the land with a stronger ease, and somewhat as that I did desire things to come unto me, that I have something to ease my heart. For lo, mine own maid did be dying in mine arms as I carried her, and I to be in a bleak and sickened dread, so that I lacked all courage now to listen unto her heart as I have told, and went burning and dry and hot in the eyes. And ever there sounded the roarings across the land, and there did be added presently lower and more horrid and dread noises. And later I heard a far thudding of the earth, and in a little there went past me a great man, running so heavy that he did make a shaking as he passed me. Yet in verity, by a sweet mercy, he saw me not, and was gone onward in a moment and lost utter into the night. and the ether of the world to be full of the trouble of the peoples as the man passed me, and afterward there to be a stirring of glad thankfulness. And truly alway my spirit did know strangely, as in a dream, that the millions set their sympathy and pity and help about me, and did girt me about with human love and with encouragement and with uplifted thoughts. Yet in verity did all be as water beside the fierce wine of my love and despair, which did urge me onward in a natural lacking of all dread save for mine own. And truly this doth be the way of love, and shall make fearless the heart of the weakest. And there to be prayers in the night, and all the ether to be surged with the spiritual trouble and callings and cryings of the millions, so that indeed if that my spirit so to hear these things, it to be conceived that these do pass outward into the everlasting, and to break upon the shore of eternity in an anguish even as a visible foam of supplication. And surely the unity of love of the millions did make a natural force about me, for in verity the force did come from the house to seem to be somewhat eased from the maid, yet there to be no surety in this, for all did be desperation and turmoil in my heart, and I to have but one thought in my brain, that I bring mine own swift across the land unto the mighty pyramid, and so unto the doctors. And lo, there stole presently from afar the deep and dreadful baying of the hounds, so that I knew we did be surely dead, save that a miracle should happen. And I asked in my heart in a fierce and mad fashion, why that they did not to rig one of the olden shooting weapons, that they shoot from the pyramid, and so to give me some aid in mine extremity. And behold, even as I did be so bitter, there went afar upward in the everlasting night, where did shine the last light, the sharp flashing of the set speech, and I did warm in my heart a little with hope, for the master monstruaken did see that I was now all discovered, and there to be no more use for silence, and did speak straight and helpful unto me. And I made to read the set speech, but mine eyes had been mad and near blinded with lost hope. But in a moment I saw clear. And behold, the dear master monstruaken bid me to keep good my courage, for that they did have made ready 3 of the olden weapons. And moreover, they to save me, even if that they have to turn loose the earth current over the land. And he commended me with honour, and that I strive forward yet a little while, for that 100,000 men did be prepared, and did even then go downward in their armour by the lifts. And surely, as you think, my heart eased a little in me, and there burned somewhat of a hope in my spirit, that I yet to bring mine own unto the doctors ere it be too late. And the baying of the hounds did grow nearer in the night, and there to grow ever the roarings over the land, and a sense of evil and monstrousness to be abroad in all the night. And lo, I to have come by this so that the watcher of the northeast did be backward upon my left, and I looked keen and fearful now at the monster force. And behold, the great bell-ear did quiver continually, so that I saw the monster made somewhat known unto all the land. And the monster did look as ever unto the pyramid, and did be a great and silent hill of life that did lean toward the pyramid, and the light from the ring came downward upon the monstrous hide, which did be set in vast folds and wrinkles upon it, and the monster to know of me, yet never to move, neither to show life, save that the ear did quiver so horridly. And I knew that they made some great preparation in the pyramid for our defence, for all the night did begin now to shake and to quiver with the mighty beat of the earth current. End of chapter 15, part 2. Chapter 16, part 1 of The Nightland by William Hope Hodgson. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. The Nightland. Chapter 16. In the Country of Silence, Part 1. And lo, I did become something nigh unto the mighty pyramid, and my great home went up vast into the everlasting night as a very mountain of sweet life and safety, and had surely amazed me afresh with the utter bigness of it, only that despair and weariness did have too grim an hold upon my heart for me to care of aught save to have mine own maid within the safe wonder of the huge refuge, and it did be still afar off from me. And I to go forward across the land with a strong going, and lo, as I passed a hollow place where did burn a fire hole, there came something out of the hollow, and the thing gat upward from crawling, and did be a great and haired man. And the man looked at me, and afterward came unto me, and did put his hands forward, very eager as he came. And I did see the hands plain in the light from the fire hole, and the hands were monstrous, and did be armed brutish with horrid claws, so that the man should have been able to rip aught even as a wild beast. And I put mine own very swift to the earth, and surely I cared not for life or aught, for this thing did make to delay me, and I to be fierce with despair that aught should halt me. And lo, I leapt very furious and with cold anger at the giant, and I smote at the monstrous brute, but he unto the side in an instant of time, and so escaped the blow. And he flung forth his monstrous arm out of the half dark of a shadow that did be cast by the dance of the fire hole, had caught my headpiece, and plucked it from me so strong and brutish that he cast me nigh a dozen feet on to my back. Yet I was not harmed in the life, but only sore shaked and bruised, and I to be up in a moment, and came in upon the giant, and the discos did roar and blaze in my hands as I swung the weapon. And I gat the giant above the middle part, and the discos did glut itself, and went through the giant as that he did be naught, though so huge and monstrous and girt with strength, and he to have surely turned his shoulders as he died. For the upper part of the giant man went horrid to the earth, and the legs and the trunk stood plain in the light of the fire hole, and the blood went upward as a fountain in the night. And I made no pause, but leapt unto the maid, and had her in a moment to mine arms, and onward again past the dead thing, that did only then to fall with an horrid sound. And surely the night did be full of an astonishment and upliftedness of the millions, so that their spiritual cryings did go all about me, and did tell me that they had perceived this thing, and did cast their love and delight unto me, and a vast excitement to be upon them. And lo, I scarce to have gone a great mile more, but there came two vague things out of a dark place, where certain rocks did upstand, and I smote them with the discos, and went onward, but what they did be, I never to know. And surely after that I did seem to go smiting for ever, for there to come, time and oft, strange things out from the bushes and the rocks, as that all the land did be a crawl with foul and monstrous life. And I to go smiting as in a dream, and to speed forward ever with a more fierce despair, for surely the end of our lives did be come, and I not to be given power to save mine own maid. And all the land did be full of grim and monstrous roarings, and oddwise lower sounds, very deadly. And once I did hear the noise of giants running, and all the night to be evil. And in verity, how I did not be slain by some dread force, I not to know, unless that I did be burned free of all weakness that an evil power should have chanced to harm me through, for indeed I had been dealt a bitter training a monstrous time. And lo, there to be again the deep and dreadful baying of the night-hounds unto the south-east, and to be nearer, and I to know now that no strength of mine should serve to protect mine own. And lo, from the upwardness of the night there did be the last light, there sudden to come downward a strange blue flash, that smote downward into the land unto the south-east, and again the flash to come, and mayhap a score times after, and there to come down out of the height a peculiar crackling sound, that did be less than the thunder of this age, yet more loud than any other sound that you ever to hear. And lo, I knew that the humans did begin to fight for me, that I bring mine own safe unto home. And behold, it did be as that all the wakefulness of the land that had been did be but as sleep, beside the wakefulness that now to come. For surely the night now to seem to rock with the roarings of the monsters, and with the bestirring of great forces, and ever there to go over the land the yowling of that strange and dreadful laughter, which did come from that hid country in the night of the lost East. And lo, there arose constant now the hoarse and dreadful bayings of the hounds, and made known that a mighty pack did be out, and they to seem to be no more maybe than a good mile unto the southeast, and I to be all alone, save for the dying maid that I held in mine arms. And I looked vainly and with despair for the 100,000 that did be prepared, and had come downward, as you do know, unto mine aid. But truly there did be naught to see anywheres, save the strange lights and shadows of the land, and the movement of monstrous life in this place and that place, and the hounds to come nearer with every moment of time, so that indeed I knew that death did be very nigh. And I ceased not from my stride, but went forward, and did begin to run. For the pyramid was not a huge way off in the night, and the shine of the circle about it to be plain seen, save here and there, where it did be hid strangely, and I to have a despairing hope that I come yet with mine own into the safety of the circle. And the baying of the hounds to come ever the more near, and surely it did be a doubly hideous bitter thing that I lose my dear one so nigh unto home, and the great mountain of my home to go upward before me into the night, and to seem so near that surely I did be almost there, but yet mayhap 2 great miles off even then. And behold, I called out in vain despair, and to no end, why that none come to give me aid in this extremity. For the hounds did bay now but the half of a great mile upon my left, and did surely have scent of me by the way of their dreadful baying. And truly the millions to have an anguish of sympathy for me, for the spiritual noise of their emotion did be plain unto my spirit, and they surely to have seen and to have interpreted the way that I did look about me and appear to call out in despair, for there came all about me in a moment the companioning of a great and sweet spiritual force, which did be bred of their quick going with me in their understanding and love, and they to have perceived how that I did be unto the end of hope, and the hounds to be almost upon me. And in this moment there came afresh to my hearing the shaking beat of the earth-current, so that I knew the humans to take desperate means to save. And there came to my view a vast pack of the hounds unto my left, and they came running at a great pace, and their heads did be low, and they to be so great as horses, and seen plain and again in shadow all in the same moment as they did come. And in verity I knew that we two to be dead indeed ere a minute be gone, if that the humans not to haste. And I stood where I did be, for there was no more use to run, and I looked from the hounds unto the mighty pyramid, and again to the hounds. And again I looked with my hope gone unto the pyramid, for the hounds did be scarce 200 fathoms off from me, and there did be hundreds of the mighty beasts. And lo, even as I looked that last time into the pyramid, there brake out a monstrous bursting flame that did rush downward from the sealed lower part of the mighty pyramid. And the flame smote downward upon the land where the hounds did run, and all the night to be lost from my sight in the brightness and strangeness of that mighty flame, so that I saw no more the pyramid or aught, but only the shining and dreadful glory of that flame. And the flame made a blast in the night, and a hotness that did seem to wither me even where I did be from it. And I perceived that the humans had truly turned loose the earth-current upon the hounds that I be saved, and there went a constant great thundering over the land, because that the earth-force did rend and split the air, and did tear up the earth. And the roaring of the monsters did be hushed and lost in that mighty sound, and I to see no place where the hounds did be, but only flames and broken lands where the earth-force did strike, and great rocks did be hurled all whithers with a vast noise, and truly it did be a mercy that I was not slain 100 times, if this might be, by the failings and burstings of great rocks and boulders. And lo, in a moment the humans did cut off the earth-force, and had it again to their control. And there to seem now a great silence upon the land, and an utter dark, save that flames and noise came from that part where the current did strike. And I very speedy to come free of the dazedness that had me, and made again to my running. For in truth it to seem now that I should yet be let to win unto safety with mine own. And mine eyes did grow presently unto their accustomed using, and I to look always about me, lest there come somewhat upon me even then to work our deaths. And for a good time there to be naught that I did see anywheres, neither there to be the wakeful sounds of the land, save only the grim and horrid laughter from afar in the dead east. And oft as I did run, I to stare hungry-hearted upward at the mighty pyramid, and surely it alway now to seem to be less bright than before. And in the first I to set this to the count that mine eyes did be yet dazed by the great flame of the earth force. But soon I to perceive that it did be otherwise, and that there did be truly a less brightness of the light that did shine throughout all the mighty redoubt. And this lack I conceived had owing to that great using of the force and power of the earth current that had been loosed to save us. And I to have this new thing cold upon my heart, for truly, if that the force of the current to be made over low, there to be a danger for all the humans that did live, even for all the great millions of the mighty refuge. And this did be surely known by the masters, and they to have no more power to aid me with the current until it flow strong again, lest that they destroy all the peoples of the earth. And all this to be plain to me in a moment as I ran, and I to be but the more desperate to come unto the instant safety with the maid. And surely I to be yet in expecting of the 100,000 to come unto me, but they not to come. And all about me the land to begin again to give out the noises of the monsters, and to send forth new and peculiar noises, as that there did be more awaked in the land than did be ever heard by me before. And presently I saw that there went living things creeping between me and the light of the circle. And I to know that I yet to have to fight bitter, if that I would bring the maid safe, and I swung the discos free and ran on. And sudden my spirit to know that I did be warned of some new peril, and I to look upward into the night that the master monstruaken should mayhap to tell me the danger by the set speech. But in truth there came not the quick flashings of the set speech, but only an upward stillness and a dimness of the lights of the mighty pyramid. And afterward I to learn that the dear master monstruaken made to warn me of the danger, but that all the instruments of the tower of observation to fail to work, and likewise all the machinery of the pyramid to cease, even unto the moving of the great lifts and the moan of the air-pumps, and all to have been this way for nigh a great hour, until that the earth-current did flow again more full. And surely this doth show that death did nigh to come unto all the millions, because of the great trial that did be made to save us. But truly my spirit did be warned by the trouble of the millions, and because the master monstruaken called vaguely with his brain elements, so that I went ever more warily, and did look always. And lo, sudden I to stare above me into the night, and there to be a pale circle, very quiet and steadfast, that did go alway over the twain of us. And I saw that this did be surely one of those sweet powers of holiness, that did stand between our souls and some dread power that came anigh to work our destruction. And I to have no over fear, but did put my trust in the force of holiness, and went forward running warily. And surely I came mayhap so nigh as to within 400 paces of the circle. And I to think that I yet to win mine own safe and undelayed within the guarding of the circle. And the light of the circle did burn dim, so that I had sudden fear whether that it be any more use for a guard, until that the earth current to come more free. And all this as I ran, swift and wary and utter anxious. And lo, in that moment, in a dim place there rose up 3 beast-men from the earth, and came at me growling. And the first did be so close that I had no room to the discos, but beat in the head of the man with the haft part. And I leapt unto the side then, and swung the discos, and did be utter mad, yet chill with fury, so that the maid did be no more than a babe in the crook of mine arm. And I came in sudden to meet the 2 beast-men as they ran at me, and I cut quick and light with the great weapon, and did have that anger upon me which doth make the heart a place of cold and deadly intent, so that I had a wondrous and brutal judgment to the slaying. And truly I slew them as that they had been no more than mice, and I had no harm, neither so much as a touch from them. And behold, in that moment there came a great shout of wonder and of welcome from within the circle. And I looked swiftly, and began again to run, for there did be men in grey armour all within the circle, yet came they not to mine aid. And lo, in a moment I knew why that the 100,000 did have held off from me in mine extremity. For, behold, there did be monstrous black mounds all along without of the circle, and did rock and sway with a force of strange life that did set an horror into my soul as I ran. For truly they did be the visible signs of monstrous forces of evil. And did any human have ventured outward beyond the circle, then had that man been destroyed in the spirit and lost utterly, so that none had dared to come, neither had it been of use if any had made themselves to be a sacrifice to aid me, for truly they to have been of no use when dead, as you shall say. And there came a constant shouting from the 100,000 to me that I haste, and indeed to haste, and truly I did haste with all my strength. And I looked unto the dear circle of holiness that did be above us twain, and it to go steadfast over us, so that I saw we to be surely saved. And lo, I to be no more than 100 paces now from the glowing of the circle, and behold, even in that instant there must come brutal things to destroy us, for there came an herd of squat and brutish men all about me in a moment from the shadows where they had been hid. And they caught at me and caught at the maid to tear her from mine arm. And truly it did be as that they surely to have success, for I could nowise in a moment free myself, and yet to guard the maid and to use the discos. And lo, I kicked with my metal boots and gave from them, and turned always in a moment and wrenched free. And I leapt back, and the herd of horrid brutes after me. And now I to have space for the discos, and a grimness in my heart, and I came round very sudden, and ran in among the men, smiting. And I hit very swift both from the right and the left, and to and fro with a constant, quick circling. And the discos did spin and roar, and made a strange light upon the faces of the men, and they to have tusks like to the tusks of pigs, and surely I did rage through them smiting. And they to strike me 1,000 times with great stones, so that mine armour rang, and was all fresh burst, and I near to sicken under the blows and new wounds, but they not to harm the maid, for I carried her above their squat and brutish reach. And the brute men to seem without end, but I made all way forward unto the gleaming of the circle, and the night to be full in that place of the fierce shoutings of the 100,000, and many, as I did learn, to have tried to come unto me, but that their comrades held them from so useless a dying. And in verity I to be now scarce 50 paces from the glowing of the circle, and did be nigh to fall, for I did be so utter dazed and wounded with the fight, and ill with a vast weariness and the despair and madness of my journey, and moreover, as you do know, I not to have slept, but to have carried the maid forever through days and nights, and to have fought oft. And lo, the 100,000 stood just within the circle, and they that were to the front did swing each man the discos, and they hurled each the discos in among the herd of tusked men that did make to slay me. And surely this to save me, for the herd did thin to my front, and I to gather my strength and to charge with despair, and to smite and never be ceased of smiting, so that there did be dead creatures all about. And behold, I brake through the herd with mine own, and did be upon the circle. And lo, I stepped over the circle, that did scarce now to give out a resistance, and 1,000 hands did come forward to give me help, yet did none touch me, but gave back from me, for there did be that about me which held them off as with a little awe, for I to be strange unto them. And I stood there in a great silence, and the discos in my hand ran blood to the haft. And maybe I rocked as I stood, for many again did put out their hands as to hold me, and again drew back, and were silent. And I looked unto them, and they looked back at me, And I did gasp a while, and was strangely dazed, and did try to tell them that I had need of the doctors for the life of mine own maid, that did be dying in mine arms. And behold, in that moment there did be a sound of giants running out in the night, and some then to cry out different matters, to aid me, and to beware of the giants, and to bring the doctors to attend me on the instant. And other voices did call that the holy light was gone from above, and likewise the black mounds from the outer part of the circle. And there did be a monstrous noise of roarings in the land, and all to come bewildered unto my brain, which did surely fail now with the grim and utter stress which had been mine so long. And there to be also a constant noise that came from near and from upward, and truly I to know, as in a dream, that it did be made of the shouting of the great millions, that did make an eternal and vague roaring sound upward in the night, that did come down from the upper heights no more loud than a strange and continual murmuring out of the lofty miles. And surely I to find my voice in a little minute, and did ask a near man whether there be any doctors with the men. And in that moment there came forward a master of the Discos, which doth be as a commander of this age, and he made the salute of honour with the Discos, and would have eased the maid from me, but I to ask again, very slow, whether that there was a doctor anear. And he on the instant to give an order, and the great thousands to begin to shape and did make a mighty lane unto the great gateway of the mighty pyramid. And the master of the Discos made a sign to certain that did be near, and they stood about me, as I to know dully lest I fall, but they not to touch me, for I did be as that I must not be laid hand upon. For I did near to choke with despair lest I have to come home too late, and surely also the men to seem as that I did be strange unto them. And there went orders swift and constant this way and that, and lo, in a little while there came two big men of the upward cities running, and they had a little man between them upon a sling. And the little man did be a master of the doctors, and he aided me gentle to lay mine own maid upon the earth. And the master of the Discos made a sign, and the men that did be near turned each his back, and the doctor to make examination for the life of mine own. And there to come about that time a seeming of silence in the land, and truly the 100,000 did be utter quiet, and a great quiet in the mighty pyramid, for in truth all to know by this that there to be a fear that the maid I did bring out of the night did be slain by the evil forces. End of chapter 16, part 1. Chapter 16, part 2 of The Nightland by William Hope Hodgson. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. The Nightland. Chapter 16. In the Country of Silence, Part 2. And sudden the little man that did be the master doctor looked up quiet and piteous at me, so that I knew in a moment that mine own maid did be dead. And he to see that I knew, and he covered the face of mine own, and stood up very speedy, and he called softly to the men that did be to my back, and he signed to them that some to support me, and some to lift mine own maid and bear her unto the great gateway. And he looked keen at me, and I to fight a little that I breathe, and afterward did make with my hands that the men not to come near me, neither to touch mine own. And the master doctor to understand that I did be truly strong until I die, and did beckon the men from me and from the maid. And I stooped in a little, and I lifted mine own maid into mine arms for that last journeying. And I came down the mighty lane of the 100,000, all in their grey armour, and they did make silent salute with the Discos reversed, each man as I passed him, and did be utter silent. And I scarce to wot of aught, say that all the world did be quiet and emptied, and my task to have failed, and mine own to lie dead in mine arms. Yet truly did it to have failed utter, for I had surely saved mine own from the terror of the second Nightland, and she not to have come alone and with madness unto her death, but to have died in mine arms, and she surely to have been comforted within her spirit, because that my love did be so utter about her. And I to think vaguely and terribly on 100 sweet love actions that she to have shown unto me, and sudden I did remember with a dreadful pain how that I never to have waked to discover mine own maid kissing me in my sleep as to have meant. And a madness of anguish did flash sudden through the numbness upon my brain, so that I did be blinded a little, and surely went crooked in my walk. For I to know sudden that the master doctor steadied mine elbow for a moment, but afterward did leave me be, as I to have again control of my spirit. And lo, as I drew nigh unto the great gateway, the lights of the pyramid to begin to glow again more strong, and the machinery of the lifts and the air pumps to work, because that now the earth current did grow once more to natural strength, and they to have power now to open the great gate which did be done by great machines. And there to come forth to meet me a number of the masters of the mighty pyramid, and the dear Master Monstruaken did come before them all, so eager as that he did be mine own father. And he to have heard somewhat, vaguely, that there to have been a fear for the life of the maid that I did bring. And surely he did be told by one near to the gateway that the maid did be dead in mine arms, for he and all the masters did pause and stand silent for me to go by, and did reverse each his discourse, and this to have been an honour shown, than which there did be scarce any greater. And there went a constant murmuring up in the night, which did be the speech of the millions, questioning, and the news that the maid did be dead went upward through the miles, and my spirit to know as in a dream of the spiritual noise which did go outward through all space, and did be the grief of the multitudes as they did hear this thing. Yet truly there did nothing comfort me anywise, neither I proper yet to know the verity of my loss, for I did go stunned. And I came in through the great gateway, and the full watch did stand there silent in their armour, and they made the salute of honour. And I went onward with the dead maid that I did bring out of eternity. And presently they that were around did guide me with the maid in mine arms unto the great lift. And I took mine own maid into the great lift, and the masters came with me, and did be in their armour, and none did speak to me. And the Master Monstruaken and the Master of the Doctors stood silent to the side of me. And there did be everywhere great multitudes that I did see vaguely, but my spirit not to wot of them. And lo, I stood very quiet and dumb as we did go upward through the miles, and the millions of the city stood about the great lift, and there did be a great silence upward and downward through the strange miles, save for the weeping of women in dear sympathy that did sound far and low and constant. And presently I to know that the Master Monstruaken and the Master of the Doctors did look one to the other, and I to be aware sudden that I stood in my blood, for I did be wounded in 100 parts, and the blood to go alway from me. Yet did the Master Doctor be slow to do aught for me, because that he to perceive that I did be slain in the heart, and there to be no pain so dreadful as that he should be like to wake me unto, if that he went hastily. Yet presently there did come whirlings into my head, and some one did surely make to ease mine own maid from mine arms. But I held her dumbly, and the blood to go the more from me, and they not to know what should be done. And I to look at them, and the dear Master Monstruaken did be saying somewhat unto me that I did have no power to hear, but only to know that his face did be very human. And there went a strange noise all about me, and the Master Monstruaken to seem to hold me up, and to beckon to some that did be to my back. And lo, there came a blackness, and the gentleness of arms about mine armour. And I to come presently to quietness and to half dreams, and did alway to seem that I carried mine own maid in mine arms. But truly there did pass 3 great days whilst that I did be thus. And I all that while to be laid quiet, and to be tended by the Master Doctor, and aided by all knowledge that did be known of humans. And on the 3rd day, as it might be called, I to come full unto my senses, and the pain to take me in the breast, and the master of the doctors did be with me, and they that nursed me, and the master doctor watched me very keen and gentle. And I did be in a bed of the health room of mine own city, and I gat from the bed, and the doctor to say naught, but only to watch me. And I walked to and fro a little, and he alway to watch me, and presently he gave me somewhat to drink, and I drank, and I was gone soon from all knowledge. And I to come again unto a knowing that I yet to live, and there went a certain strength in my body. And lo, the first that I did see was the master of the doctors, and I to perceive in a moment that he had wakened me, and had nursed my strength for that moment that I lived through the burial. For he to be very wise, and to have known from that first seeing of me that I not to live after that mine own did die. And there was brought to me a loose garment, but I to refuse the garment dumbly, and did look about me very troubled and forgetting. And the master doctor looked alway at me, and lo, in a moment he called one, and gave an order. And there was brought in then my broken armour, and a garment to wear below. And I then to know that I did be content in this matter, and the doctor alway to watch me. And they dressed me in my broken armour. And surely, as they dressed me, my spirit to hear the sorrow and sympathy of the multitudes, and did know that they went downward by millions unto the country of silence. And lo, in that moment, when I near to be in mine armour, I to mind sudden again that I never to have waked to discover mine own maid kissing me in my sleep. And the pain gat me in the breast, so that I had surely ended then, but that the master doctor set somewhat to my breath that eased me, and gave something of dullness unto my senses for a while. And I did be carried then in a sling unto the great lift, and there did be a bed in the lift, and the doctor to have me to lie upon the bed, and I to know that he also to know that I never to need a bed any more, neither should I ever to come upward again in the lift. And truly the mighty pyramid did be an emptiness, for there did seem to be left only the stress-masters that did arrange the moving of the millions. And the stress-masters did stand about the lift as we dropped downward through the great miles unto the underground fields. And we came downward in the last unto the country of silence, which did lie 100 miles deep in the world, and did be 100 miles every way of silence unto the dead. And they that were with me gat me from the lift, and did mean to carry me in the sling unto the last road. But I stood upon my feet, and made that I should walk, and held out my hand for the discos which one did carry. And the master doctor signed that they should obey me, as my spirit to know. And I walked very steadfast down the way that did lead unto the last road, and the master doctor walked behind me a little space off. And surely there did be all the peoples of the world in that great country, and the peoples did be spread out for ever, so far as my seeing did go, and they to have sight of me, and all the ether did be stirred with the humanness of their sorrow and their kind sympathy. And there grew a murmur which did be like to a low rolling thunder, and did be the voices of the peoples. And the rolling of that great hushed sound went to and fro across that mighty country of quiet, and there to be afterward an utter silence. And I saw below me the place of the last rest, where did be the beginning of the last road, and there did lie there a little figure covered with a white robe, that did glimmer with the beauteous work of women that had stitched love and honour into that last garment. And surely I to rock upon my feet, and to steady myself with the discos, and the master doctor to be unto my side in a moment, and gave me again something that I breathe in. But indeed I to refuse after that I had taken one breath of the drug, for I to be able to bear my pain the little time that I now to have to live, and I to mean that I have no dimness of my senses for those short minutes that I should have yet near unto mine own. And truly the master doctor did not press me anywise, but had a perfect understanding, and went quiet again to the rearward. And I came soon to that place where mine own dead one did lie, and the master Monstrawaken stood to her feet, and did be clothed in grey armour, and had the discos reversed, and this to be for an honour unto my dead maid. and there kneeled two maids in white, one to the right and one to the left of mine own, and they to be for faithfulness, and did be maids, because that they watched by a maid, and had likewise been matrons, if that the dead had been wife unto any. And the place at the head of the last rest did be empty, and did be for me, and he that stood to the head did be for love, for it did be the chief, and did hold dominion over, and did make to live both faithfulness and honour. And this to be the way of the burial alway. And lo, I took courage into my heart, and I stood to the head of mine own maid, and I looked down upon the wondrous white glory of the garment, which did be white because that mine own did be a maid, yet did be worked with yellow flowers of weeping, as we did call them, because that she had died in love. And I to know that no hand had touched that wonderful garment, save the hands of maidens. And behold, as I stood there, from far away over the land there did come a far and faint sound, and the sound did come more nigh, so that I knew that afar off, beyond the hills of the babes, the millions did begin to sing the calling song, where million did call hushed unto million. And the sound did come onward toward where we did be, and did go over us, and pass onward in a hushed and wondrous breathing of sound, as that all the love that did be ever in this world did call in a low anguish unto a lost beloved. And the sound to pass away and away over that mighty country in the deep earth, and did hush and hush unto a great and utter silence, save for a faint murmur of countless women weeping that did be in the air of that land of quiet. And there to be a space of silence, and again the silence to be broken by a far sound, and there to come again from beyond the far hills of the babes a strange and low sound, and did be as of a wind wandering through damp forests. And the sound grew, and came across the hills of the babes, and did be breathed forth by million after million, so that in a little I to hear the song of weeping sung very low and sorrowful by the multitudes. And the song came onward over all that great country, and passed over us, and went onward into the far land beyond the dome, and did be caught by the voices of millions, that did be hid in great distances, and so to go onward for ever, and to die at last unto a mighty silence. And Master Monstruaken looked at me from the feet of mine own maid, and I to know that the moment did be come when I to part from the maid Nanni for ever and for ever, even though I to live in some strange future, and to find her soul in some other sweet child. And I stooped and laid the discos beside mine own maid there upon the last rest, and the two maids drew back the light wonder of the garment, and showed me the face of mine own, and she to sleep there for ever, so sweet and hushed as a child, and as oft I to have seen her to sleep. And I looked a little while, and the pain of my heart did be sufficient, so that I knew I died as I looked. And once more I looked, and I set my soul about mine own, and I fought with myself, and stood upward, and the maids did cover the face of mine own maid. And the Master Monstruaken commended Nanni unto eternity, and he raised the discos reversed, and lo, the road did begin to move upward unto the dome, and mine own maid did be upon the road, and I to fight that I keep breathing, so that I not to die before she be lost utter to my sight. And there did rise now a sound from all that country that had no order in it, and did be like to a low moaning that did fill all the air of the land. And there to be also a constant sound, as of a little whistling dree wind that did be in all that country of quiet. And truly this to be more than any singing, for it to be the true weeping of multitudes, that did sorrow from the heart with the grief of this thing that did be. And I stood utter still, and did draw my breath very even, and looked unto that small form that did be now afar off where it did lie upon the moving roadway. And I gazed, as that my soul and all my being did have no power else, even as a man that dies doth set all his strength to a last movement. And I not to wot that the Master Monstruaken and the two maids did hold me up, because they to perceive that I did be dying. for I only to see mine own little one lying afar off upon the moving of the last road. And the maid in that moment to come to that place where the road did pass into the strange and luminous vapour of the earth current, which did lie all about the base of the dome, and the vapour to be only as a faint shining smoke, scarce seen, yet to be enough to give something of uncertainty to the dead, when that they did have passed inward of it. And I stared with all that did be left of my strength, for mine own to be gone utter and forever in but a little minute. And the uncertainty of the luminous vapour did cling about her, and to make her to seem unreal to my gaze, for the vapour did be in constant movement, and to give a seeming of shifting to and fro of all that did be in it. And behold, as I did stare with my dreadful pain, there did be sudden a strange hoarse noise from the nearer millions. And lo, in an instant there came a mighty shout out of all that country, and the shout did be made again, and did grow into a mighty hoarse roaring from the millions, so that all that great country did be filled with the monstrous sound. And in verity I to have seen the thing likewise, but to have set it to the madness of longing of my heart, and to that desperate and dreadful pain which did make me to be crazed and lost from all sane thinking. And the thing that I did see had been that the maid did seem to move there upon the last road where she did lie, but indeed this to have appeared only to be the stirring of the luminous vapour of the earth current, which did seem to make things shift as I have told. And lo, I now to see truly that the maid did move where she was laid afar off upon the road, and I now to know and to believe that she did indeed live. And my life came into me with a bounding, yet did my heart seem to be a moment stilled in my breast. And the master monster wakened to have signed already that the roadway be stopped, and brought backward, but I to be now upon the last road, and did run as a madman, shouting vainly upon the name of mine own. And I to learn afterward that there to have been a dreadful peril that all the near millions to rush toward the last road, and so, mayhap, to have caused the death of many, and to have been like to have crushed mine own. But this danger to have been eased, because that the watch-master did act very prompt, and set the great regiments of his men to keep back the millions, and did send a signal abroad over all the country that there to be calmness, for that the maid should be succoured. And alway, whilst this to be, I did run staggering most strangely upward of the last road, and surely that great roof did ring and boom with the constant and mighty shoutings of the millions. And there did run others also along the road, to my back, but I to have been the first, and to make a good speed, though I did stagger and rock so strange upon my feet, and the road alway to be moving backward under me, and so I to become wonderful soon unto where the maid did be, and she to be upon her back, and to have pushed the garment from her face, and did be lying with her eyes open, and a look of gentle wonderment upon her dear face. And she then to see me, and her eyes did smile at me very glad and quiet, for there to be yet an utter weakness upon her. And lo, I came with a falling beside her, and I gat upon my knees and upon my hands, and my heart did shake my lips to dry whisperings. And she to look weak and steadfast unto me, and I to look forever at her. And I did alway try to say things unto her, but my mouth to refuse me. And understanding did come into her as a light, and she to know in that instant that she to be truly come into the mighty pyramid, and I to have gat her there somewise, and she to wake sudden in her body, and set her hands forth all a trembling from the garment, and in dreadful trouble. And I to see then that the blood did go from me constant, and the maid to have perceived this thing, so that she was waked the more proper in a moment from her death swoon. And surely I did bleed very dreadful, for all my wounds did be opened with my running. And I to have sudden power with my lips, and did say unto her very simple that I loved her. And she to be all in an haze from me, and I to know that she to have come likewise unto her knees, and did have my head upon her breast, and there to be an utter shaking of the air with some great sound, and a mighty spiritual stirring of the ether of the world. And there to be then the voice of the Master Monstruaken very dull in mine ears, and the low voice of the Master Doctor, but I never to hear what they did be saying, and did know only that mine own maid did live, and I not to mean to die, but to fight unto living. And even whilst that I made this resolving, I was gone into an utter blackness. End of chapter 16, part 2.